Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about all our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of sports here and there, whatever you guys want to talk about, because it's Open Mic. And good news, everybody, my internet got fixed. As you guys know, for the past couple of weeks, I have been struggling mightily with my connection to YouTube. Now, before I've had problems and it was YouTube's fault. And then the last couple of weeks I have issues. I realized it wasn't YouTube. It was the internet on my end. It was the weirdest thing. And I posted about this on my social media. When I have like 400 megabits download and 20 megabits upload. 20 megabits upload is tons of speed. And when I would run speed tests, it would tell me I was getting 20 megabytes up. But whenever I try to transfer files or stream to YouTube, it would slow all the way down to like 2 or 3 megabits per second, right? Anyway, took a couple of weeks, took the techs from my internet service provider, and it took me shopping for some new gear, but my internet is now fixed. So yay, internet is working now. So thank goodness for that. So hey, listen guys, you guys have already started sending in live questions, but before we get to the live questions, I want to mention this. So earlier today on the John Campea show, we talked about how the Hollywood Reporter has put out a story saying Henry Cavill is out as Superman, right? He's out. Now, then we heard that Warner Brothers would put out a statement. Listen to this lame statement that Warner Brothers put out. This was Warner Brothers' statement. While no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films, we've always had great respect and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged. Is Henry Cavill out as Superman or not? And they say, while no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films, we've always had a great respect for and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged. Notice, very slyly here, they don't answer the question. As a matter of fact, they don't even say, while no decision has been made about the future of Henry Cavill. No. They said, no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films. They don't say we haven't reached any decision as far as Henry Cavill goes. It is a wishy-washy, non-answer statement. They don't want to deal with the backlash of it right now, so they put out some wishy-washy statement. Remember, I'm a fan of Warner Brothers. I love Warner Brothers. But this is as wishy-washy a statement as you can possibly get. Hey, Hollywood Reporter saying Henry Cavill's out, that you're not using him as Henry Cavill anymore. That you're not using him as Superman anymore. Well, what do you say to that? Well, no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films. We've always had a great respect and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and that remains unchanged. What does that mean? What? Yes or no? Anyway, so clearly the Hollywood Reporter, I interpret this, clearly the Hollywood Reporter story is correct. Clearly. Because if there was any ambiguity, if there was any doubt, that Hollywood Reporter story was correct, then Warner Brothers would say the reports coming out today are just not true. The reports coming out today are erroneous. There's no truth to this report going around that Henry Cavill is no longer our Superman. That's what you say if that story's not true. If that story's not true, what you don't say is, while no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films, we've always had a great respect and a great relationship with Henry Cavill. That's like saying, hey, Ma, are we having turkey or beef for dinner tonight? The sunshine is warm even in the winter. Ma, I was asked, are we having turkey or beef for dinner? The sunshine is warm even in the winter. Ma, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Ma. Help me out here. It was a simple question, Ma. You know, that's kind of what Warner Brothers just did. So to me, that statement by Warner Brothers removes any doubt. Not that there was ever a lot of doubt. Hollywood Reporter is very reliable. But it removes any doubt on the validity of the Hollywood Reporter story that Henry Cavill apparently is out. And maybe it's his decision to be out. Maybe it's Warner Brothers' decision for him to be out. Maybe they wanted to make it work, but Warner Brothers screwed it up. Maybe they wanted to make it work, but Henry Cavill screwed it up. I mean, I don't know. We won't know those answers for a long time. But what is fairly clear to me from this statement is that the Hollywood Reporter story is true. But just intriguing stuff as always, guys. Always something interesting in the world of the DC Cinematic Universe. All right, let's go on now with your guys' live questions. And we're going to get things started off here with on if C Stu 123 writes, which Supernatural episode made you a true fan? Oh, I couldn't tell you. I just remember being at home up in Canada and nothing much else on. And oh, there's like 3 or 4 episodes of the Supernatural on. I've heard good things about it. I'll check it out. It had already been on for a year or two. And I started watching a couple episodes and I just became a fan. I don't think there was any one episode for me that was like, oh, now I like this show. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of, I just remember watching a few episodes. It was like season 2 or season 3 that I got on board with it. And I watched a few episodes in a row and I just realized, hey, I really like this show. I love the chemistry between the lead characters. I love the dialogue. It just feels cool to hang out with these guys on screen. And it wasn't any one particular episode that did it for me. All right, Donaldo Martinez writes, is it safe to say that Equalizer 2 was profitable at $162 million worldwide on a $62 million budget? Another sequel, perhaps? Yes and no. I think it's pretty safe to say it was profitable. Like, again, you remove about 33, 34% for the theater's take. You're looking at about $100 million. That is left. They didn't spend a huge amount of money, maybe $30 million on marketing Equalizer 2. So the movie made about $100 million, ultimately cost about $92 million. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say it was probably, at the very minimum, it broke even, but it looks like it was a little bit profitable. Another sequel? I doubt it. Which is too bad, because I like the Equalizer films, particularly the first one. I like these films, but I doubt it, because the first film made almost $200 million. I think the first Equalizer made just shy of $200 million, and it was cheaper to make. They made the first one for just $55, and they made more money at almost $200 million. When you do a sequel, you're hoping to see an elevated return, right? Instead, it made less money than the first one did. Whereas the first one was clearly profitable, this one maybe barely, but it's going this way instead of this way. That's not what the studio likes to see. That's not what the director likes to see. That's not what the actors like to see. That's not what they're hoping to see. Based on that, I'm going to doubt that we're going to see an Equalizer 3. Not with that kind of trajectory, not with those types of dollar numbers. I don't see it. What I hope they do, because I've liked these films. I love Denzel in that role, so I hope they do. I just don't think they will. All right, Ben Rayner writes, any truth to this Michael B. Jordan for Superman rumor? None. Absolutely zero. Absolutely zero. It's not a coincidence that the day it's become publicly known that Henry Cavill was stepping away, that all of a sudden these rumors start popping out. I don't believe it at all. Would Michael B. Jordan be a good Superman? Yeah, I think he'd be a good Superman, but I don't think there's any validity to that whatsoever. John Demoto writes, hello, John. With Kevin Feige wanting more female-led superhero movies in the MCU, besides Black Widow and Captain Marvel, who else could we see in the future? Thanks, and keep up the great work. Well, I mean, really just about anybody. I think the first place you start is with some existing characters. Okoye could do a standalone movie. Okoye is a secondary character, but she's the type of character that I believe you could do a standalone movie around. She's just amazing. There's something magnetic about that character on screen. She's so good. I don't believe we're going to get another Ant-Man movie, but that doesn't mean we couldn't get another Wasp movie. So again, I think the first place they're going to look is internally, as in characters they're already utilizing. So you've got your Black Widow, which is an obvious one. You've got your Okoyes, maybe even a Shuri if you want to still look at the Black Panther world. You got Wasp. There are some options there that are available to them. Outside of that, I don't know. Like, I've always had my doubts that we're going to get a She-Hulk movie. I think it's a little bit too derivative, which is the same reason why I don't think we're going to get Ironheart. I don't think we're going to get the female version of Thor. Those are just straight up derivatives. You could make the argument that Ant-Man and Wasp are as well, but Wasp has always been Wasp is one of the founding members of the Avengers, so that puts her on a different level. So, yeah, but again, I think primarily and initially they're going to look internally, as in characters they've already got on screen that they can spin off into their own originals. I don't know that, but that seems to make most sense to me. Valkyrie. Valkyrie's another one with Tessa Thompson. That's easily one you could do as a standalone. We'll have to wait and see what their plans are. All right. Thunder Knight writes, which movie is worse, Jupiter Ascending or The Last Airbender? Jupiter Ascending. Yep. Now, a lot of people are going to want to say The Last Airbender, but that's only because they love the TV show and they wanted The Last Airbender to be great. And I get that. And it was bad. And I get that. But make no mistake about it, Jupiter Ascending was worse. We just didn't have the expectations or the hopes for Jupiter Ascending like a lot of people had for Last Airbender. I understand that. Which of the two is more disappointing? Clearly Last Airbender is more disappointing. But with all other things being equal, which of those two films are worse? I got to go Jupiter Ascending. Jupiter Ascending is just a legend. It comes close to being one of the 10 worst wide-release Hollywood cinematic films of all time. Might even be in the 10 worst, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I take that back. Jupiter Ascending is in the top 10 worst wide-release major Hollywood motion pictures ever produced. Maybe not top 5, but top 10. So I'm going to go Jupiter Ascending on that. Tortellini at Noon, I love that name, right? So Jason Blum wants to do a Scream movie. I'm not okay with it, but I'd be in as long as they don't pull the none of the sequels happen crap. Thoughts? I like none of the sequels happen stuff. I think it's an interesting idea. I think the only reason this Halloween movie is even remotely interesting is because it's a direct sequel to the original film. But that's just to me. That's just my opinion. But you're asking for my thoughts, so I'll give you my thoughts. My thoughts are that I like this idea of trying to, instead of just straight up rebooting, go partway. Say this is the sequel to that. I'm curious to see Terminator with doing this. And look, there's nothing left you can do. Any script is to either straight up reboot it or do a true sequel to the first one. Or make it a true third film and ignore all the films after the first two or something like that. Yeah, I gotta say, I don't mind it. Now, we gotta see these movies come out, right? The one film that kind of did that before was Highlander 3. Highlander 3 came out, and Highlander 3 wasn't bad. Highlander 2 was one of the worst films ever made. But Highlander 3 came out and completely ignored Highlander 2. It just pretended Highlander 2 didn't happen. And it worked. It wasn't anywhere near as great as the original Highlander. It's not a movie people remember very fondly, but it was a huge improvement. And the whole experiment of let's try this as if it's as if this is the sequel, and it worked. That doesn't mean, that the Terminator one's going to work. It doesn't mean the Halloween one's going to work, but it means it can work. And Jason Blum, who's been everything he touches turns to gold. If he wanted to give that a shot, I'd be totally open for it. By the way, nobody said that that's what he's planning on doing or that's what he would want to do. I'm saying if he did something like that, I'd say we give him the benefit of the doubt and let's see how that goes. Let's see. David Aikens writes, over under 35%. Selvig plays a role in Avengers 4. I'm going to take the under on 35%. I don't think it's impossible to see Skarsgård pop back up, but I think it is unlikely. I think it's unlikely. I would probably set the over-under line at like 10%. 10% becomes a little bit more feasible. 9-1 against. That's a little bit more reasonable. 35% is way too high for me, so I'm going to take the under on 35%. Mike Hill writes, have you ever seen Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White? I want a sequel to it badly. No, I never have, which sucks because I really like Michael Jai White, but no, I've never seen that one, to be honest with you. Dave Aikens writes, thoughts on J.J. Abrams' canceled Superman flyby? I honestly don't really know much about it. Honestly, the only things I ever really knew about J.J. Abrams' flyby was when John Schnepp and I would sit around talking about Superman. Because, John Schnepp obviously did his incredible documentary, which you can still go watch, and I highly encourage you to watch it if you haven't, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. You should check that out. But he talks a lot about that, and I can't say much, but I will say this. Schnepp was also kind of dabbling in another project that was going to look more at that particular project, at that Superman flyby thing. I don't want to give anything away because I think Holly might still be working on that. And if she is, look forward to it. But anyway, that's really the only stuff I ever knew about it. So, yeah, no real thoughts. No real thoughts because I really didn't know much about it other than some brief conversations me and Schnepp used to have about it. Taki75 writes, Russo said in an online Q&A, the Red Skull is now free to pursue the Stones again. MCU's version of the Golem? Look, here's the thing, though. Too many people run with something somebody says as an offhand comment, think, oh, that means this. Just because they said that doesn't mean that in the future of the MCU, Red Skull's going to be running around doing all these more... No. It's just... It was an offhand comment, making an observation. I don't think he was telegraphing, or the Russos were telegraphing what the future of the MCU is. I don't expect to see a lot of Red Skull moving forward in the MCU. Although it was awesome to seeing him pop up in Infinity War. I thought that was awesome seeing him pop up there. All right. Sebastian writes, Far From Home is going to make $1 billion. Spider-Man targets boys and girls. So did all the other Spider-Man movies, though. None of them hit $1 billion. Well, wait a minute. Did none of them hit $1 billion? That might not be true. Hold a second. I want to say none of them hit the $1 billion mark, but I could be wrong about that. Spider-Man 3 made 890. Spider-Man 2 made 780. One of the greatest comic books of all time to this day. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Yeah, Homecoming made 880. The original Spider-Man, 820. Amazing Spider-Man, 570, or 750, I mean. Amazing Spider-Man 2, 708 million. Yeah, no Spider-Man. So all of them have been targeted at adults and kid-friendly. Spider-Man Far From Home does not target boys and girls. It's friendly for children, but it's not targeting children. So you can say, well, it's friendly to children, therefore it's going to make $1 billion. Well, there were 6 other Spider-Man movies, and none of them made $1 billion. And Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out right on the heels of an Avengers movie. The last movie to come out right on the heels of an Avengers movie was Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it only managed to make $600 million. Only $600 million. But you see my point. I certainly think that Spider-Man Far From Home is a potential member of the $1 billion club. But don't think for 1 second that's an automatic just because a lot of kids like him. Well, a lot of kids have always liked him. 6 previous movies and none of them made $1 billion. Just something to keep in mind. All right. Dave Higgins writes, damn shame we won't get another Tintin movie. Well, I don't know that that's true. Look, the last official word on this came from Spielberg about a year ago, I think. And Spielberg said they're still doing it. So, yeah. I mean, look, I don't believe that it's actually going to happen. I don't think another one's actually going to happen. But keep in mind that the last official thing said about it was that they're still going to do one. But, you know, Spielberg's got like 3 more movies lined up, and none of them are called Tintin, so I just don't know that's going to happen. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet, Dave. Zach Bartron writes, is there any category that you feel should be added to the Oscar ceremony? We talked about this the other day. The only one that I really feel should be added to the Oscars is Best Ensemble Cast. Best Ensemble Cast seems to me to make sense. The Screen Actors Guild has a Best Ensemble Cast category, which I think is great. Look, we recognize the Best Actor and Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress and Best Supporting Actor, and that's great, and we should. But a lot of these movies are big productions with tons of cast members, and together, like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, that movie easily would have won Best Ensemble. Everybody did an amazing job. Everybody did an amazing job in that. But it wasn't nominated for any one singular role. Partially was because it was such an ensemble piece. It would have won 12 Academy Awards had that been a category. So the one I think they should is ensemble cast. A lot of people still want to say stunt work, but I don't think you can make stunt work an Academy Award because nobody would know how to judge it. Nobody's there on set. Like, the Academy voters aren't on set to watch to see what is a stunt, how was the stunt done, was it pulled off well. Like, you're watching a movie, you don't know if something was a stunt or not. So I just don't think you can do stunt work as an Oscar because there's no criteria for which voting Academy members can judge. You know what I mean? So it's that's a tough one to do. See, stunt people deserve an Oscar category, but it's not about what they deserve. It's about, can you practically do it? And I don't know that you can practically do it. Zach writes again, I've heard arguments for and against extended editions of Lord of the Rings. What side do you fall on? I love them both. I love the extended editions. I think the extended editions are great. But to me, the definitive Lord of the Rings films are the theatrical versions. I love all the extra stuff in the extended. I love it. I absolutely love it. But to me, the definitive versions of those movies are the theatrical cuts. Those are the true versions of the movies, in my opinion. So I'm going to lean towards theatrical, even though I love them both. All right. Patrick Conway writes, do you think Daredevil be born again in season 3? If you're asking if I think Daredevil season 3 will be about the born again storyline, it's not going to be the born again storyline, but they've already said it's going to have elements from the born again storyline. A lot of people consider Born Again to be the quintessential Daredevil story out of the comics, and it's hard to disagree. We know there are going to be elements of Born Again in it, but much like previous seasons of these different shows, take some elements from one famous storyline and some elements from another. You're going to see that in Daredevil season 3. But I absolutely expect, and they pretty much confirmed, that we will recognize some elements from the overall Born Again storyline in season 3, but it's not going to be completely based on the Born Again storyline. Chris Warden writes, you idiots, these are not them. You've captured their stunt doubles. More Spaceballs quotes. I love it. Find them. Classic stuff. Now you will see. And as he's taking the gloves off, you idiots, these are their stunt doubles. I love that line. So many great lines in Spaceballs. Okay. Sebastian writes, the note wifey sent via Super Chat was thoughtful. You know what's funny? I got a text from Ann saying, did you see my Super Chat? And I didn't see it. I didn't see Nan's Super Chat, so I got to ask her what it said. But thanks for reminding me about that, Sebastian. I got to ask her what it said. Ben Rayner writes, what's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken? I love that. More Spaceballs. Colonel Sanders and his band of family assholes. Patrick Conway writes, high-res Avengers promo art online. I still don't think it's real. I don't think that's legit or real promo art. I don't know anything definitive that says it isn't, but I don't believe that that's actually real. I think it's fan-made. I think it's excellent, and I think it's excellent fan-made stuff, but I still don't believe it's actually real. For instance, when you look at the Captain Marvel costume and juxtapose it against the actual Captain Marvel pictures that came out from the movie that Marvel released the other day, there are some subtle differences in it, like where lines are and all that kind of stuff. There are subtle differences in it. That doesn't mean anything because maybe they slightly changed their costume for the next movie. That's what they always do. I'm just saying, I don't believe that those pictures are legit. I still am of the camp. Now, we may find out that they are legit. Great, they look wonderful. And I wouldn't put any money on it, but I don't think those pictures are legit. But we'll find out soon enough because we're getting close to when this movie's going to drop. ZOMG Ruler writes, Warner Brothers can keep Gal in her films and have a rebooted Wonder Woman now. If that's not, then that's not rebooting. That's not rebooting. If you reboot, you reboot. And frankly, there are much more talented actresses out there who could do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not calling for Gal to be removed from the movies now that she's in them. And quite frankly, she did fine. She's done fine in them. Chris Pine did all the heavy lifting in Wonder Woman, and Patty Jenkins directed the shit out of that movie. But even if it was Meryl Streep playing Wonder Woman, the greatest actress of all time, if you reboot, then you reboot. Nothing, because if you're trying to tell the audience, hey guys, clean slate, we're starting over, you send mixed messages by bringing back other cast members. And look, I said the same, everybody knows how much I love Henry Cavill as Superman, but I said the exact same thing when this topic came up before a while ago. I said, no, if you reboot, you got to replace Henry Cavill. He is my favorite Superman of all time. It pains me to say that. I think he's great. I think he's a wonderful, marvelous Superman. But if you reboot, then you reboot. None of this. You know what the worst jobs in the world are? Half-assed jobs. Half-assed done jobs are the worst jobs in the world. That's the worst work ever done in the world. And trying to reboot while still keeping main cast members in place, that's a half-assed job. You're begging for disaster if that happens. So either don't reboot or reboot. Don't do a half-assed job and, well, we're rebooting, sort of, but we didn't really have the guts to do a true reboot, so we're still going to keep some people. If you reboot, reboot. That's just the way I see it. Dirk Diggler writes, on the Henry Cavill news, Warner Brothers press release reminded me of how they presented their reason for Zack Snyder being replaced on Justice League. I think they are working on another cover-up. Look, Warner Brothers is infamous for trying to spin PR. I said this morning, but I'll say it again. Do you remember the way they tried to cover up the Ben Affleck stuff last year at Comic-Con? Remember the report? I believe it was the Hollywood Reporter again. Let everybody know, Ben Affleck's out. And Warner Brothers and Ben spun that like crazy. Remember Ben Affleck came out on stage at Comic-Con going, woo, I'm Batman. I'd get on my hands and knees and play an ape for Matt Reeves, referencing Matt Reeves as Planet of the Apes. I'd do anything. Oh, it's so cool being Batman. I love being Batman. I'm Batman. And everybody was so naive to believe it. Everybody was so stinking naive to believe it, going, oh, see? He says he's still Batman. We tried to warn you. I still remember I did a video the night before Justice League's Hall H panel. And this was right after the Hollywood Reporter story came out about Ben leaving. And we, of course, have been talking that Ben was leaving for a long time. And I said, tomorrow at the Hall H panel, all Warner Brothers can do at this point is deny it. They have to deny it. They have to. They've got this movie coming out. They can't acknowledge that Ben is off and that there's problems there. They can't acknowledge that right now. They're trying to market this movie. They have to come out and deny it. And sure enough, they came out and denied it. Yay, I'm Batman. I'll walk on all fours for Matt Reeves. But then what happened? Shortly after that, and as we're getting close to the movie coming out, then Ben Affleck's tone totally changed. I'm looking for a nice way to transition out of playing the role. Do you think he'll be back again, Ben? We'll see. I don't know. What happened to I'm Batman, that everybody bought hook, line, and sinker? What happened to that? It was gone. This is a brilliant tweet, a brilliant statement by Warner Brothers. Because they're not lying. They're not lying. While no decisions have been made regarding any upcoming Superman films, we've always had a great respect and a great relationship with Henry Cavill, and it always seems unchanged. I asked you if we were having turkey or beef for dinner. You know? It's a perfect statement because they can't be accused of lying. But clearly, they're deflecting. So, yeah, it reminds me of the Warner Brothers loves to play that spin game, and I don't blame them. A lot of Hollywood business is the spin game. I don't blame Warner Brothers for that. Not at all. I'm just saying we, as audience members, should be sophisticated enough that we recognize it when we see it. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, Sebastian writes, I'm old. My kids had to explain to me what cosplay was. Yeah. I remember I had to have that conversation with my mom. What's cosplay? I keep seeing people write because my mom watched all my shows, right? I remember it might have been last year, 2 years ago. She wrote up, what's this cosplay people keep talking about? It's like, well, it's, I had to describe to her. So don't feel bad, Sebastian. Jake Vidmar writes, someone crossing the 405 freeway with a blindfold has a better sense of direction than DC if Henry Cavill rumor is true. Yikes. Well, it's not a rumor. This is a Hollywood Reporter saying it. It ain't a rumor. Yeah, I mean, and I talked about that on this morning's show. And I'll probably talk about it again a little bit later on The Weekly Hero. Don't forget The Weekly Hero is a little bit later today. Robert Meyer Burnett's coming in here. That'll be at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it more then. But the thing that's upsetting to me, as a fan of DC, look, other actors can come in and play Superman. Maybe almost as good as Henry, maybe as good as Henry, hell, maybe even better than Henry. Actors can be replaced. I get all that. The part that really upsets me as a fan, and again, I'm just repeating what I said this morning, but you look at the MCU. Their fans get to feel secure and confident in them because when the fans of the MCU look at the MCU movies, they see identity. They see a game plan. They see direction. They see core values of what their core values are. They see a steadfastness and they see a plan. And that type of consistency, pillars of what their founding principles are, and a sense of their direction, a sense of their course, all that gives fans a lot of confidence. Now juxtapose that against looking at the DCEU. 50 directors on one, 43 directors go through another one, 18 movies announced, 17 of them later canceled. Ben Affleck is Batman, wait a minute, now he's not. Henry Cavill's Batman, wait a minute, now he's not. Now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing this. And it's all been a mess. I've enjoyed the films. I've gotten a kick out of the films, all of them. There's not a single one of the DCU movies I haven't at least gotten a kick out of, even if I acknowledge the problems in them. But clearly, we as fans cannot look at the DCEU like we do at the MCU. We see no core values in their identity. We see no roadmap. We see no plan. We see no direction. We see no consistency. There is no founding solid bedrock to act as a foundation if you're a fan of the DCU. So you're left feeling always anxious. Always anxious. You never know what's going to happen with the DCEU. What announcement is going to come out tomorrow? Is the new movie going to be any good, despite the fact that it'll look really good? This director's on this movie, but will he be gone tomorrow? We just don't know. You're always, as a fan of DCE films, we are constantly in a state of anxiousness because they don't have what the other guys have. Founding pillars of their identity, roadmap, direction, steadfastness, a sense of course. And that gives those fans a lot of confidence and a lot of security that we know our MCU, this film franchise that we're watching, we know it's in good hands. We know it's going in the right direction. And if a road bump comes, it can handle it because it's steadfast. It's got this roadmap. It's got a game plan for success, and they stick to that game plan and all that kind of stuff. DCU, utter chaos all the time, leaves fans feeling anxious all the time. And that is my big complaint about this whole situation. Cobra writes, you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. Oh, Michael Caine. Which movie was it? I can still hear Michael Caine say, you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That was a terrible Michael Caine. I'm awful at impersonations. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Of course you've all noticed. I'm terrible at impersonations. Never tried. Italian Job. Italian Job. That's what that's from. Michael Caine and the Italian Job. Sebastian writes, I've heard you didn't like Lady Bird. I hated it. The storyline seemed decent and critically okay. First, is my premise correct? Did you like it? No. I hated that movie. But everybody else liked it. Everybody else loved Lady Bird. All the critics loved it. I'm definitely odd man out on this one. I thought it was boring as sin. I thought it was very formulaic and what a lot of other people called profound. I thought it was a poor movie. I really did. But everybody else loved it. So if you haven't seen it and you're thinking about seeing it, don't take my word for it. Everybody else seems to really like it, so go give it a shot. Let's see. Murray Reich writes, thoughts on the Browns-Steelers game. Should there be a second overtime in the NFL? I don't know. Look, I'm fine with there being a tie in the NFL. I'm fine with there being ties. You can, obviously not in the playoffs, but I'm fine with ties. They happen very rarely. Very rarely. But it creates an interesting dynamic. Now, for the rest of the season, even if Pittsburgh completely rebounds, that tie on their record is going to create some very interesting implications as we get down closer to the end of the season. Keeps things interesting, so I'm good. Look, Browns, I cannot help but cheer for the Browns. They lost every game last season. They won only one game the season before. They've won one game in 2 seasons. I'm not a Browns fan, but I think we're all cheering for them. Come on, guys, get that win. It was really kind of cool to see them get a tie. This team that lost every game last year, they come out game 1 against a good team like the Steelers, who may not be as good as we thought, and end up getting a tie. So good on them. It's a feel-good story, man. Sebastian writes, my question, where is Felipe and the dancing sentient microphone from? AMC? The question is courtesy of Mike Hill. Courtesy is still okay. I can't remember when I came up with it. I think I was at AMC at the time. Here's where Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone came from. Let's just pretend this air conditioner remote is a microphone. The question was, I used to get all these questions, but hey, John, do you think a movie about this could work? John, do you think a movie about that could work? And what I said was, look, anything can work as a movie with the right writers and the right director and the right actors fitting the right role. And if they come up with a great story, literally anything can work. Anything can. So, John, do you think a movie about this can work? Look, they made a movie about plastic building blocks, Lego. And it was great. So can it work? Yeah, anything can work. And then I said, matter of fact, and then I pulled in a microphone onto screen. I said, let's say, I don't know, I wanted to make a movie about Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. I just made it up on the spot, right? I said, if you get me the right director and the right writers and the right story and the proper cast to fit the right roles and blah, blah, and all the stars align, that could be an Academy Award winning movie. More likely it would suck, but could it work? Yeah, it could work. And that's how Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone, was born. And he's been around ever since. Phi Nguyen writes, seen Ransom lately. I have kids, so it's hard to watch now. Yeah, I would be with kids. Also, it has the most realistic depiction of someone crashing through a glass window. Not that I've ever seen somebody crashing through a glass window. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Ransom, somebody just brought up Ransom the other day on the show. We were talking, I believe we were talking about Mel Gibson. Ransom's a good movie. Give me back my son. It's a really good movie. And Thor's mother. Why am I forgetting? Oh, come on. She's only like one of the all-time sexiest women. Renee Russo. Yeah, she's in that. I really like that movie. I think it's classic. I haven't watched it in a couple years, but it wasn't all that long ago that I saw it. Very good movie. Stands up, holds up very well, in my opinion. But yeah, I can see how it'd be tough to watch that movie around kids. Daniel Quintana writes, my soon-to-be fiance got me the Ultron hot toy, and is holding it hostage till my birthday. Oh, that both makes her the most awesome and the most evil fiance you could possibly have. Most awesome ever because she's got it for you. Most evil ever because she's withholding it from you, I should say. Most awesome, most evil. That's a good mix to have, actually. I want a little bit of evil in my women. Phi Nguyen writes, think Fox deserves second Oscar nod for Collateral? It's hard to say because it's not about whether that actor deserved it or not. It's about whether that actor deserved it more than the 5 other actors who got the nominations. That's what it's about. And I can't remember off the top of my head everybody who got nominated in that category that year. But I do never remember thinking that, oh yeah, I think Jamie Foxx is the one who deserves it. I remember I never thought that. So I'm going to say no. Although it's a great movie. Tom Cruise is great in that. Let's see here. Dead Dog. Dead Dog Productions writes, Chris Plummer for Drax and Superman. Christopher Plummer is now the go-to actor for when you need to replace another guy. Christopher Plummer, all-time iconic, one of the greatest actors of all time. Good Canadian kid, I believe. Anyway, he's the guy who stepped in, and when they pulled Kevin Spacey out of the movie, they put him in. Then ever since, whenever it looks like somebody needs to be replaced in a movie, we all go to Chris Plummer. So yes, make Christopher Plummer the new Drax the Destroyer. I love it. Great idea. Luke1234 writes, do you think that the result of the Joker movie could be the tipping point whether DC throws away a cinematic universe and only does Elseworld movies? I don't think so. I honestly don't think it's an either-or situation. Look, even if DC decided to kill the current DCEU, they would start another cinematic universe. As long as the MCU is making money hand over fist doing a film franchise, DC will continue to try to do that. It won't be an either-or situation. I do not believe the success or failure of the Joker movie will have any implications on the cinematic universe. What it will have is an implication on how much DC is willing to keep going with and investing in these standalone Elseworld movies. But I don't think it's going to have any implication on anything else. Because even if DC wanted to kill the current DCEU, they would just reboot and start up a new cinematic universe. They will always be in the cinematic universe game. there's just too much potential there. So I don't think it's a matter of one or the other. I think they want both and. DC's not looking for one or the other. They're looking for both and. So we'll have to see if the first Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix gives them the ability to keep going with these Elseworld movies, but it won't affect whether or not they do cinematic universe movies. Aaron Lancaster writes, Italian Job, 1969 or 2003? Honestly, 2003. I like the original. I just got a bigger kick out of the 2003 one. Maybe if I watch them again like this month, maybe I would change my mind, but I personally lean towards the 2003. I really liked Ed Norton in it. Like everybody talks about the other lead cast. I thought Edward Norton was great in that movie. And to me, he just brought something to it that just made it's like that greasy but strong kind of presence in it that for me kind of takes it up to the next level. So I'm going to go for now. I'll go 2003, but I might change my mind on that later. Joe Byram writes, see that Brie Larson? That's how you break the internet. If you're talking about when Brie Larson, like, for those of you who know, the day before the first images of Captain Marvel got released, Brie Larson got on Twitter and said, hey, EW, Entertainment Weekly, how about I'm bored, let's break the internet tomorrow. And EW tweets back, oh, we've got just the thing. So some people were wondering if they're going to drop a trailer. I knew they were going to drop a trailer because they never drop a trailer before an official poster, before releasing artwork first, before doing all that kind of stuff. That stuff had to come first. So I knew it was going to be a trailer, but I expect a trailer pretty soon. Now that we've got a magazine cover, now that we've got official images, I honestly think it's going to be pretty soon. Sooner than we think. I think we're going to get a Captain Marvel trailer sooner than we think. All right. KW Garrett, 83, writes, theory, Warner Brothers is walling off each DCU character and no more crossovers. Warner Brothers will reboot Batman and Superman and standalone films. Gives Warner Brothers flexibility if films fail. I mean, that is one way to do it. That is one way to do it. Treat each movie like a standalone movie. Don't interconnect them too much until the individual movies become healthy. That's one way of doing it. It is one way. And it's not a far-fetched idea that might be what a Walter Hamada has in mind. Working against that theory is the fact that what we also discovered in the Hollywood Reporter story was that Warner Brothers was trying to negotiate with Henry Cavill to get him to appear in Shazam in a cameo, but they couldn't agree on it. And Henry Cavill, I guess, didn't want to do it, regardless. So clearly, Warner Brothers was still interested in having some crossover there. But that, KW, that's definitely a valid way to approach it. It's definitely a valid way to approach it for sure. Eddie Burton writes, can't blame Cavill. He's been most patient with Warner Brothers. I mean, I don't know. Like, honestly, Eddie, for all we know, he's a bastard. I mean, I've met Henry Cavill a number of times. I've sat down to talk with him a number of times, and I think the guy's delightful. But then again, maybe he was just put on a show. Maybe he's been completely unreasonable. I'm not saying that he has been. I'm just saying, like, how do we know? We don't know him. Maybe he was making ridiculous demands. Maybe he was wanting this, that, and the other thing in the moon, too. It's something that no reasonable studio would give him. And maybe that's what's held everything up. What I am saying is that this is a mess. But what I don't think any of us can say is whether this mess is Cavill's fault or Warner Brothers' fault or both or neither or whatever. We don't know. We don't know the behind-the-scenes stuff, right? So for all we know, maybe Cavill's been the dick. Maybe Warner Brothers has been trying to be reasonable with him, but he's like, no, I want Tony Stark money. I want Robert Downey Jr. money to be Superman. And they're like, no. Warner Brothers way overpays him. We're not going to give you however many tens of millions of dollars to play Superman. No. Well, that's what I want. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying for all we know, it could be. We just don't know. So let's not rush quite yet to assign blame. Let's not rush quite yet to assign blame. Ben Rayner writes, is a Joker movie a DC movie or a Warner Brothers movie? That seems to have minimal drama so far. In my opinion, well, I mean, it's semantics, Ben, because every DC movie is a Warner Brothers movie. Right? Every DC movie is a Warner Brothers movie. So is the Joker movie a DC movie or Warner Brothers movie? The answer is yes. So that's really the way to look at it. Josh DeRose writes, Which upcoming fantasy show has the best chance at taking the mantle from Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones prequel, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, or The Witcher? Thanks, Gio. At this point, I'll say The Lord of the Rings. But because like that is a going back decades and decades and decades and decades, established lore, popularity, massive fan following, all this kind of stuff, familiarity with it. Witcher's got potential. Wheel of Time's got potential. The Game of Thrones prequels has potential. If I had to guess right now, having not seen any of them, so I can't say, my best guess right now would be the Lord of the Rings one. That's my guess at this point. Whether or not that's the way it works out. I mean, we might see previews for all these and then go, oh, no, the Lord of the Rings looks terrible. Forget that. But in a vacuum, I'm going to guess the Lord of the Rings one. That's my guess right now. Joe Byram writes, see that, Brie Larson? That's how you break the internet. Okay, now I'm in the Matrix. Did I miss something? Hold on a second. Joe did ask that question already, right? Yes, he did. I guess he accidentally sent it in twice. C.K. Gould writes, I saw the Meg and I liked it very much. I wanted to like it more than I did because I'm a big Jason Statham fan. Jason Statham was the first celebrity thing that I ever did on my website, the movie blog. Back before I had ever done a single celebrity interview or anything, Lionsgate Studio reached out to me and said, hey, we're doing these little things. Jason likes your website. Do you want to send us in some questions? And we'll have Jason record a video answering the questions you ask. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. So I sent him off. And he did this thing for the movie blog. That's a terrible Jason Statham. I should never do impersonations. From the movie blog. Blah, blah, blah. And he did it. And I've been a big Jason Statham fan ever since, man. Massive. And I've had a chance to meet him and several times, and it's been great. So I'm a big Jason Statham fan. Love him in Lock, Stock, in Snatch. Just always will be a big Jason Statham fan. Wanted to like the Meg. And the Meg has upside. And there are some good things about the Meg. I didn't hate the Meg. The Meg's not bad. But I walked out more disappointed than anything else. Because when they're in the water and when the shark's on, it's really good. Everything away from the water when it's the characters talking is garbage. Like absolute garbage. And as great as Jason Statham is, I didn't think he was a good fit for the movie. I didn't think that was the right role for him. But I'm glad you liked it, and I know other people who liked it too, so I'm glad you enjoyed it, CK. Joe Byram writes, oops, just regard the second super chat. Yeah, I thought, wait a minute, am I in the Matrix here? Deja vu? No problem, Joe, I caught you. Troll Puncher writes, I like that name. It seems to be a Warner Brothers negotiation ploy with Cavill. It's a BS statement. It's no negotiation. I think this is done. Not only is it done, I think this has been done for months and months and months and months, and just nobody said anything about it. Remember, when they announced that Ben Affleck was Batman years and years and years ago, what we found out was he actually came on to be Batman 5 months before they made the official announcement. I believe this situation we're finding out now about Cavill goes back further. I don't think it's a negotiating ploy. Not at all. I think this is done. This is just now damage control right now. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I'm not inside the boardrooms. Andrew Christie writes, Warner Brothers' statement is such BS. It really is. It really is. I mean, it's also pretty smart, right? Because what's your option? You don't want this to become the narrative right now, so you don't want to come out and say, yes, that's right, we've gotten rid of Henry Cavill. But at the same time, you don't want to lie and have it come back to bite you in the ass. So what do? We really like Henry Cavill, and we always will. Is he still Superman? We really like Henry Cavill, and we always will. That's not, hello, are you listening? That is not what I asked you. Is Henry Cavill still Superman? We've always really liked Henry Cavill, and we do to this day. Okay, just shut up. Just shut. So, yeah, it's pretty smart statement because it can't bite them in the ass later, but it's still pretty much just BS for sure. Levi Road writes, is Shia LaBeouf underrated? Him and Fury Road alone. Oh, well, it's hard to say he's underrated because a lot of true movie fans recognize how stupid naturally talented he is. The dude's just such a jackass, he keeps getting in his own way and subverting and undermining his own career. But make no mistake, when it comes to pure acting talent, the dude is... You almost don't have the words for it. He's so freaking naturally gifted as an actor, it's dumb. And you're right, Shia LaBeouf, he's in Fury. He's in with all these heavy hitter actors, and by far he upstages them all. He upstages them all. He upstages Brad Pitt. He upstages John Bernthal. He upstages everybody. He's brilliant in that movie. Should have gotten an Academy Award nomination. But then he's been in a lot of these smaller indie films as well that'll just blow your mind. He's so freaking good. So a lot of people realize he's that good, but for the overall, a lot of people just think of Shia and they just think, the crappy Transformers movies. And that's all they think. So maybe on that level, he is underrated. David Biliouris writes, will Leia and Kylo have a scene in episode 9? I doubt it. Because it sounds like what JJ's plan is just to use unused footage of Leia from episode 7 and repurpose it, use some visual effects to have her have interactions with some people. But I think it would be a very, very big stretch to have an actual interaction or confrontation with her son. I think that's asking too much. Not to mention, I believe in episode 8, we saw Kylo move beyond. He no longer has a struggle. He's not struggling about his dad or his mom anymore. He is clearly on the dark side. That's where he is. It's done. So from a practical point of view, I don't think it's possible. And also from a narrative point of view, I don't think it's needed. It seems like they've moved past that at this point. Trevor Johnson writes, I'm all right with the Cavill news. I'm just hoping that Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 1984 set a course correct to the universe, then recast. Maybe. Look, honestly, I'll tell you right now, I'm not even hoping that Shazam, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman 1984 fix the DCU. At this point, all I'm wanting is good individual movies. Just give me good individual movies and I will be happy. I'll be totally happy. I couldn't give a flying F if Aquaman corrects some things in the DCU. Just give me a good Aquaman movie, man. Because winning cures everything. Winning cures everything. You win enough, all the other problems seem to disappear. You start to lose, all the tiny problems start to look like big problems. Winning cures everything. All I want from the man, I don't care if they fix the DCU, just give me a good movie. And if Aquaman is a good film, I could care less if it fits in with the DCU. I could care less if it contradicts everything else in the DCU. I could care less. Just give me a good Aquaman movie. And I think James Wan will deliver. I do. I think he will. Let's see. Trevor writes, follows that up with, also, it doesn't seem surprising. If Warner Brothers isn't even planning on a Superman movie at this point, we aren't missing much. Just my thought, though. Well, I agree with you, Trevor, but where it really drives it home for a lot of people is it just kind of puts an explanation point on it that don't expect to see a Superman movie anytime soon, right? And I think that's part of the shock for a lot of people. Like, I think a lot of us, myself, I talked about this on the show the other day, do not expect to hear an announcement about a new Superman movie anytime soon. But to hear that Cavill's not even our Superman anymore, that really just puts an exclamation point on it. That, no plans for Superman right now, ladies and gentlemen. And which is unfortunate, and it sucks, because Man of Steel is awesome, and I wish they were doing it, but here's what it is. Third Man 3 writes, I'm so tired of these internet babies using SJJW as a derogatory term. Anytime a woman progressive thoughts is mentioned, SJJW is mentioned. Yeah, I mean, it is, I pretty much, as soon as anybody utters the words SJW, I tune them out because I just assume they're a mindless nobody. Because anybody, first of all, using the term SJW, like, so anybody who believes that people who have been treated unfairly should be treated fairly, you just slap an SJW label on them. Since when is that a bad thing? You know, since when's that a bad thing? And anyway, I just tune out. Anybody who even uses the term, I just tune them out. And that's what everybody should do. Mike Carlos writes, John, spill or give us a hint about Cavill and Warner Bros. I'm not saying a thing. Not saying a thing, Mike. Zach Carper writes, Is it safe to assume that the DCEU is getting rebooted due to the fact Cavill is out of Superman? Nope. Look, everybody knows. I believe they should. I've been banging the drum that they should reboot. Not because I hate the DCU, but because I want them to succeed. And I believe the best chance for success is reboot. You have a chance to succeed doing it in other ways too, but I think the best chance for success is a clean slate reboot. We've seen it work in comic book movies before, and I believe it could work again. That being said, I think it is pretty clear they are not going to reboot. They have some kind of plan. I don't know what it is, but it ain't rebooting. Which is unfortunate, but that's fine. There are other ways to succeed besides rebooting. All we can do now is just keep our fingers crossed and hope they succeed in whichever avenue they're taking. But unfortunately, Zach, while I would love to say that they're rebooting, no, I don't think so. Look, if they weren't planning on rebooting before, losing one actor out of one role is not going to make you reboot your franchise. Right? Not your whole cinematic universe. I think they should reboot, but again, I don't think they will. I'd be very surprised if they did at this point. Hunting Bassblurg, right? I like that name, writes, do you think the middle of Avengers is a tad slow? No, I think it's a great second act. I think you get a lot of narrative put in there, a lot of the story laid down in there. Not everything has to be big, bombastic explosions, fights. You need periods of pace. You need periods of narrative. You need like all that. And I thought the second act of Avengers is great. I love the second act of Avengers. So, but that doesn't mean you need to. And that doesn't mean you can't feel it's a bit slow. It's all subjective, right? So just because I'm saying I don't think it's slow doesn't mean you're wrong if you find it slow. If you find it slow, then you find it slow. Your opinion is no better and no worse and no more and no less valid than mine. But since you're asking me, personally, no, I don't find the middle slow, to be honest with you. Robert Coleman writes, potential of seeing the origin of the vibranium meteorite in future MCU films like Eternals. Perhaps a vibranium planet thousands of years ago. No, I don't think so, and I hope not. MCU seems to understand you don't need to go into explain-o-vision and explain everything to death, you know? I don't think we need to know where the vibranium meteorite came from. We really don't. There was a meteorite, hit the planet, made of real strong stuff. That's all we need to know. That's all we need to know. I don't think we need to know any bit more. I don't think you need to go over explaining it. I don't think you have to go to the whole young Darth Vader avenue of it. I think you just let it go. So yeah, I don't think they will. I don't think there's any need to do it. I don't think there's any purpose in doing it. I don't think anybody cares. So yeah, personally, I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. Philip Neves writes, thought N was a good Batman. I don't know who EN is. Did you just misspell Ben? Is that what you're saying? You thought Ben was a good Batman? Oh, if so, I thought Ben was the best Batman. I think he was a better fit for Batman than Christian Bale was. People get mad at me when I say that. I say, look, Christian Bale is clearly a better actor than Ben Affleck is. Yes. But Ben Affleck is the better Batman. He understands Batman a lot better than Christian Bale does. And Ben Affleck gave us, at least in Batman versus Superman, not so much Justice League, Ben Affleck gave us the most true representation of Batman the screen has ever shown. The way he played that character was the perfect way to play that character. Even better than Christian Bale. So I don't only agree, Philip. I don't think he was a good Batman. I think he's the best we've ever had. Rick Cruz writes, and we're almost out of time here, guys. We're now at 4 o'clock. John, if Henry Cavill is done with Superman, then why reboot the DCEU if it starts going well? Hulk was recast, and technically the OG X-Men were recast with the First Class and continued their universe. The thing with the X-Men universe, though, it was always successful. They didn't need to reboot the X-Men universe never needed to be rebooted, right? And Hulk, by the way, was rebooted. It wasn't just recast, it was a reboot. It was a reboot that gave us the Ed Norton character, which then morphed into the why am I freezing at Mark Ruffalo? That morphed into the Mark Ruffalo one, yes. But don't forget, we had a Hulk before that did reboot. So yeah, I think those are completely different circumstances and you're comparing apples to spaceships here. The X-Men universe never needed a reboot. And the Hulk did reboot. It just didn't full reboot twice. Once was just a recasting of the character, but once was a full reboot. So keep that in mind as well, recruits. ZOMG Ruler writes, wait, so 2 Jokers can exist, but not 2 Wonder Women. I don't know what it is you're saying. Was somebody suggesting doing another Wonder Woman movie? Like, am I missing something there? Did somebody suggest like a second Wonder Woman movie? I'm not really clear on that. Ply Buoyant writes, thoughts on Blackish, Warner Brothers gets... Oh, thoughts on backlash Warner Brothers gets on a black Superman. Yeah, there would be some backlash, but honestly, I think most people are common sense enough to realize it doesn't matter if Superman's black or white. He's an alien. Superman is not Caucasian. Superman is an alien being from another planet. It doesn't matter if he's white or black or whatever. Like, look, I said this before. There are characters whose ethnicity is core and essential to who that character is, i.e. Black Panther, right? King of Wakanda, the fact that he is, that he's a black man is a core, essential, important part of who the character is, right? There are characters out there that it's not what race they are isn't important, is not germane to who the character is. Superman, for example, is not Caucasian. He is Kryptonian. He is an alien being. Nothing says, there's nothing about his character that says his skin needs to be white. There are characters who them being Caucasian is a key essential element to who that character is. That being Asian is a key component to who the character is. That being black is a key important DNA thing about who the character is. There are characters like that. But a lot of characters, it don't matter what their race is, the core of who that character is independent of what their ethnicity is. I have always supported the notion that Superman is one such character. The visual ethnicity of Superman is completely devoid and irrelevant to who the core character of that person is. Because technically he's not white. He's Kryptonian, which means you can make Superman purple. If you want to. Would there be some backlash? Yes, there would. But I think most people are common sense enough to realize Superman was never white. He just looked white. But he's an alien from another planet. So it don't matter if he's white, Asian, black, it doesn't matter. Superman is Superman. He's a Kryptonian. You know, all other things being equal, do you use a white actor to play him? Yeah, probably more times than not, sure, because that's the traditional understanding of the character. Yeah, fine, I got no problem with that. But I also have no problem with they come around and say, hey, we got this killer actor, man. He's got a great physique. He's got a great look, and he's a super killer Broadway actor. He brings all the chops, and we think he'd be a great Superman. Great, do that too. I don't care. So I believe most people are common sense. Some backlash, I almost said blacklash. Some blacklash, if they made a black Superman. Sure, some. Yep. And not all of them would be for racist reasons. Some people might just be, no, man, look, we just really like the traditional image of Superman. Hey, that's fine too. But I think for the most part, most people will be like, hey, whatever, Superman being white, black, Asian, whatever, isn't really matter. He's Kryptonian, he's an alien being. So I think for the most part, it would be okay. Christopher Mason writes, my blank fell off. Oh, are you talking about what I talked about this morning about the Grundlefly? It's like, oh look, my dick fell off. That's everything's fine. I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah, that was. I gotta admit, I got a kick out of saying that. Kyle Brackman writes, do we need critics? Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think we need critics more today than ever before, because look, honestly, the movie, it's like anything else. You would be a fool to go out and buy a car without doing some research. It's a big investment. You're a fool if you don't do some research on that. I have been researching just the next computer I'm going to buy. I've been researching the next computer I'm going to buy for 6 months. Going to the movies is an investment in time and money. And frankly, I find it a little silly to not do a little research. See what people are saying about it. You know, I buy a lot of stuff off Amazon. I always look at the reviews. You know, what are people saying about it? And I always look for the confirmed buyer. You know, Amazon will tell you, Amazon will confirm for you if this is actually somebody who actually bought the item. So I always look for that confirmed purchase and I read the reviews. You know, hey, I'm looking at this external battery, but this external battery, it looks like it's a little bit better. Read the reviews. What are people saying about it? And particularly, I go to like MKBHD, if that's even how you say his name, Marquise. I go to his thing. I go to Twit, to Leo Laporte. I look at these tech things and say, what are these guys saying about this? Before I invest my money, what are these people who kind of deal with tech for a living, what are they saying about it? And I believe today, with so many entertainment options out there, and so many different ways to spend your money, and just your time, you know, hey, newsflash, you only got so many hours to be alive on this earth. Be careful how you use those hours. So I believe the need for critics, like people who, you know, specialize in just watching and giving opinions on movies. Now, find the critics that you identify with most, look at a wide range of critics, right? And just, so at least still make up your own mind about what you want to see, but at least then you're making an informed decision. Like if everybody's talking crap about 50 Shades of Grey, and you take that all in, but go, you know what? But I'm a big sucker for the book, so I'm still going to go. Fine, but now at least you've gone in making an informed decision. You know what to expect now. You know you ain't going to go in and get the greatest movie of the year. You know all that, but at least you make an informed decision. I believe the role of critics today are more important than ever before. I really do. I really honestly believe it. That's why I read so many critics. Both for movie critics, television critics, computer reviewers, cell phone reviewers, all that. I just read them and read them and read them and read them because I'll make my own mind up. I'll make my own decision, but I want to make an informed decision. Especially when we're talking about investing some of my time, investing a little bit of my money. I just want to make sure that any decisions I make are at least my own decisions, but that they're based on being informed. So yeah, I believe so quite badly. All right, last question of the day. Robert just slipped this in. Any chance of seeing T'Challa on the ancestral plane in Avengers 4 with the spirits of his father and Killmonger? Anything's possible, I suppose. But I doubt it. I don't think you're going to see Michael B. Jordan in Avengers 4. I don't think you're going to go into places like that for it. Not to mention, there's really no narrative purpose to Flash there at that point, because anything that happens in the ancestral plane will be completely divorced from what is going on in the main narrative. So any chance? Sure, any chance, like 1%, 2%. But for the most part, I'd say I'm going to guess no. Just a guess, but I'm going to guess no. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Look, the internet held up today. My show didn't get cut off from my internet crapping out. Yay! Little victories, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being here today, guys. Don't forget, at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight, that's 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, me and Robert Meyer Burnett doing our Heroes episode. Make sure you join us for that. You know we're going to be talking a lot about this whole Henry Cavill situation. Make sure you guys come and join us for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.